What's up, guys? So today I want to go over sneaker body in general, how to get good at it, how to have success. Because as we all know, the shoes and stuff that we try to buy, it's really hard. It's not easy. They're very limited. It's just most of the time it's almost impossible. It seems. But then you will see a lot of times you'll be sitting there struggling like I don't know what, and you can't get a checkout to save your life, and somebody else checked out 5, 10 pairs like it was nothing. That sort of thing happens all the time. Um, but but today I just wanted to kind of go over like the basics. Today, basically, we're going to be going over Balko. That's the main bot that I use. That's the main bot that a lot of people use. It's a really good bot. Um, I mean, if I was going to buy a bot just to focus on one bot, I would just get Balko. And most of the time, I mean, Balko does a lot of things. Balko does Supreme, it does Shopify, it now does Yeezys, Adidas, and also does Off White now, which I've copped the Jordans with the Off White with this bot. So this bot is definitely a good bot. I've had a lot of success with this bot. I've also had a lot of failures with this bot. It's not easy to be successful, especially all the time. Like, it's almost impossible. But a few things about this sort of thing is that it takes a little minute to really understand how everything works, how it how the bot operates, how you're looking at these statuses right here, and kind of um, drawing conclusions because based on things like that, it takes a few seconds to really get that. So I just wanted to kind of go over that. Like a lot of times, um, so you if you it's certain things that, like I said, you have to know. Like right now, I'm just starting this test right here for these calls, and this is on a test profile, and um, I don't really want these obviously, and to me they were almost bricks, so I didn't really go for them. I just did test profiles just to kind of have get a little bit more practice in, before something actually does drop or whatever. But today, as I was doing that, as you can see right here, I'm just using these Infinity Resis, which I do have to say I do like them a little bit. They're pretty cheap with their proxies and stuff. But anyway, and that's how obviously, I mean, that's how I cop the off whites with these proxies. So I'm not saying nothing bad about them. But it's just certain times or certain websites, the proxies will be like throttled basically, and that happens that happens pretty often. And a lot of times when you start your task and stuff, they'll get hung, or see, like this one says checking Shopify site. It's been sitting there for a few seconds, like it's probably hung obviously, but it's um, like this morning when I was running it, when the calls dropped earlier, it was really sluggish and really slow, and it was like adding the card, and then it would sit there for like 2 minutes, and then it would go to submitting info or whatever, and then it would go to submitting checkout, and it just basically stopped at submitting checkout. That's basically a pretty red flag for your proxies that it's a pretty good sign that your proxies are throttled. Um, so in that type of situation, thing is with that is that you should whenever you create your task, you should always do a few different proxy providers when you do it. So with Balko, you would I'm trying to make sure none of these tasks are running. But with Balko, you would obviously you would make like I did here with the calls. I did one with the DC proxies, and then I made another group with the resis here. Um, um, but the thing is with that is that even if you do all that, a lot of times you can still fail. Your best bet is to always just your best bet without spending a fortune on proxies and stuff like that is to just get some decently reputable DCs, and then get some try different residential packages. Obviously, like I recommend cheaper packages because most of the time, these proxy providers that are like the hyped ones, like Unknown and Fatal and things like that. I find those types of proxies to be, they're not as good as people think. Like it's just hyped up beyond belief. The best bet is to actually get one that's nobody really knows about and it's cheap, because it doesn't really matter if you get an expensive proxy plan like Unknown, which is like $37, I believe, for 2 gigabytes, which is pretty expensive, I would say. Um, but you could do that, and the thing is with that is that everybody knows, everybody thinks like those proxies are going to be the ones to use. So what happens is you get 400 different people that are all pulling from the same residential IP pool, basically. So then what happens is, basically those proxies into the, long story short, those proxies just get blocked or throttled on those websites, and you're never going to check out on those websites with those proxies. So basically, you just waste $37, and then you'll try to run your task, and they will basically get hung, or they will never make it through the splash page if it's something like Easy Supply. So you can't. I wouldn't recommend doing that. A lot of people, that's the thing. These proxy companies are hyped, so they, they kind of feed off of that, and so it's not gonna really be beneficial overall. I mean, like I say, with it, I got a pair of Toddler Off-White Jordans with Infinity Resis that like nobody knows about, and they're $6 a gigabyte. So don't spend $37 for 2 gigabytes when it's only worth like 12. And it's gonna go, residential proxies, and all the data goes really fast. Like it's not. So yeah, but that's one thing. And like I said, if you notice something like that, where it's like basically a lot of times on Kith, for me and stuff that'll happen. It's just on different websites. It's like I said, it's almost like each Shopify store has its own filtering process for the different proxies and stuff like that. So certain websites a little bit easier, but it's hard to know what it's gonna be like before it happens. So it's just mostly a gamble overall, but it's just where you have to try to make it the highest probability possible when you're creating your task. So like I said, get you some, red dirt proxies or some Zoom proxies. I would recommend Zoom probably. If it's what everybody recommends, so maybe they're good. I hope. Usually I will kind of go with the hype DC proxies just because you get them for a month anyway. So it's like if you spend $30-$40 on 25, you get to use them all month long. So I usually will do that because I mean most of the time the DC proxies for me, like the cheapest ones I can get are like $1 a piece, and they're not going to be worth shit. So um, with DCs and stuff, to me it seems like it's more you do want to kind of follow the hype a little bit with those. But other than that, to have a successful checkout, um, as well, you need to have a bunch of different profiles, a bunch of different email addresses, a bunch of different. If you have a catch-all, you can use that as well, but it's not as recommended, as as if you just had a bunch of different privacy cards or something like that. So yeah, I mean that's the main thing that everybody really uses is like privacy cards, and now they accept those as well on Supreme. So you know, so basically we did go over Shopify a little bit, but we haven't went over Supreme or Off White or anything yet. So with Supreme, it's a little bit different. Like obviously with Shopify and stuff, you will. I didn't even say this because I figured it's general information, but usually when you start your task or whatever, you start with a high delay. I usually start with like 16,000 milliseconds, and then probably like 15 seconds before the drop. Most people go around 35 to 4. Well, usually 25 to 35 or 37. Usually it's around 35, really. 3,500 milliseconds. That seems to be a pretty good number to put. You want to be really careful with it because especially like me and stuff. I usually only have 25 DCs. So usually on Kith and stuff, I'll run like a maximum of 18 tasks with a 3,500 delay. I find that you really can't do much more than that on Kith with 25 proxies. So, like I said, you want to be careful because if you start it and the proxies aren't flagged, but you're running, more than 18 tasks on 25 proxies with a delay you really shouldn't be using, um, those proxies are going to get throttled, and you'll be sitting there trying to catch restocks, and it's basically just not going to happen. So that's the whole thing with that is that you just don't want to do that. So with Supreme, it's a little bit different with delays and such things. So we'll just do that really quick. A lot of like DC proxies are usually your best bet on Supreme, really, because it's just about speed. Like a lot, like they don't like with delays and stuff on Supreme. Like usually with like 25 proxies, I mean you could run 25, probably even. I would say run about 20. Balko is different. Like Balko, if you try to run 100 tasks on 25 proxies, it's just not going to work. Like the tasks that it doesn't have enough proxies for, they're just not going to even do anything. So either you run your DCs and you run it when at drop time like 500 milliseconds, something like that, half a second. That's usually around there or even lower. Like a lot of people run like 100 or even probably lower than that. Um, I've hit a lot with like 500. It's something you just have to kind of play with, and that's the general gist of botting in general is just play with the different things, and things change all the time. Like Amazon DCs and stuff didn't used to work on like Kith and stuff, but then you see the guy who owns Balko hit like 10 pairs with Amazon DC proxies, and they've been blocked for months now, basically, and now they just start working again. Just things like that. Because the thing is that the DC proxies are always going to be the fastest. It's just a matter of if they're throttled or not. If they're throttled, then it's just basically like running on a dial-up connection or worse. I mean, it's like you're never getting through. Like you're never gonna even like it's just gonna block you. Like like it just won't work. Like it's just gonna throttle you. So you can't do that. But with Supreme, like I said, 500 milliseconds will usually get it done. You can go lower if you want, and with Supreme you would run one group with your DC proxies, and you can run a group with your residential proxies, but I basically doubt it's gonna hit. You can try it, like people. I mean, you always want to be prepared for whatever happens. So usually DC proxies and stuff are the best ones, or like running with no proxy is usually really good too. But you never know when these things are going to change. So you really want to always be prepared for any situation, especially if it's going to be something that you're really, really trying to get. So you would set it up with residential proxies on Supreme as well. Even though I doubt you know, in general, I doubt that they would probably work. Like honestly, people hit with them. People hit with them all the time. It's just it's just logistics. It's just they're slower. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't matter. Like some people can hit like 100, like one person out of 1,000. Yeah, they can hit. It's just luck at that point. It's not about it's not about the real dynamics of the speed of the bot or anything. It's just luck. So you don't really want to fall into that. You don't want to have to get lucky to hit. Like that's you don't want to do that, especially you're waking up early or whatever, trying to buy this mess, and you're not trying to lose sleep and then not even be able to not even have your stuff set up right, and then something changes and then DCs don't work, and then people that are running resis cook. So you can't. You have to always like things are usually the way they are, and you can have that in your mind, but things change as well all the time. So you can never know. So that's the thing with that, and a big part of botting is just being able to adapt, and especially like I said, looking on your task and kind of knowing what's going on. Like you're looking at your task, you're like, oh, these proxies are throttled, and then you have to switch those out like really fast, and things like that, so that you can catch the restocks and things like that. So you just have to be, that's one of the big things about this stuff, and to be successful with it is just really it's really about becoming one with the piece of software that you use. I mean, that's you can really go far in that, if you do that. And also, one thing I didn't touch on is that most of these websites, they'll load a checkpoint either right when something drops or a few minutes before it drops. You never know which case it's going to be. Usually Kith, sometimes they've been kind of known to do that, where they'll put the checkpoint up like 3 minutes before it's supposed to come out or something like that. But like I said, sometimes they don't do that. But the whole thing with the checkpoints is that it's all about speed at that point. Like you need to be able to solve that captcha as fast as humanly possible, because that's going to put you in the queue, where you can, make it through the queue if you're one of the first ones to solve the captchas. And also, you just want to keep solving all the captchas so that all your tasks can get through the checkpoint. So then that way, if they restock, then your bot will most likely be able to hit. I mean, it will have its best chances of being able to hit. So you want to do that, obviously. For off-white and stuff, I've only ran one time on off-white. The last time that we ran was the Jordan 5s, the off-whites. That was like the first time Balko even added off-white support. So yeah, that was the first time that you actually could run Balko on there. So yeah, I ran that. Had a lot of problems. I had like 2,000 proxies easy that were like spread across the world, spread across the country. They were actually free proxies. I had a group of those, and then I had a group of residential proxies for the off-whites, and I had a group of DC proxies for the off-whites as well. Um, Had a lot of problems overall, just because a lot of the proxies, in my opinion, were blocked, which most people were blocked. Even my home IP address and stuff was blocked. But the thing is that in those situations, it's very good to be in a lot of groups and a lot of different sources for information, basically. Because when you're in those groups, you'll be looking in the chat and stuff, and some people will be posting, that their bot is actually like doing something a lot better than what yours is doing, like on their screenshot, and then that goes to tell you that it is your proxies. It's nothing like people are getting through. In that situation, you either have to give up because your proxies are fucked, and you're not going to try to sit there and waste all your data trying to, or whatever, trying to just let your bot run, basically waste electricity and whatever. Um, it's basically a waste of time if your proxies are blocked. So basically, at that situation, you just have a choice. It's like either you want to buy some different proxies and test them out and possibly get through, because you know it's possible, because you see people doing it, so you know that it can work. So you you can do that, and it will, most of the time it'll work out. Um, I mean, not most of the time. It's a shot in the dark. I mean, you're buying the proxies. You don't really know they're working unless you see people in the chat saying they are. I know last time, I'm pretty sure, like, chat cooked and all that stuff didn't work. Like I said, I just went on there. Like, that's what happened with me. Like, I let my bot run all night. I went to sleep. Like, I'm not trying to stay up all night, waiting for something. Like, if it's gonna be easy for me to get it, then I'll get it. If not, then I'm going to sleep, because I'm not losing, like, sleep over nothing. So I figured it wasn't gonna work, so I went to sleep. I woke up the next day and it was like they were still just starting to restock again or something like that, but all my tasks were still messed up. So basically, I just bought those Infinity Resis and they worked. So I don't know if it was just timing, where it was like just when I bought them, the site came back up, or if the proxies really were blocked and I found some that weren't. And obviously with those, it worked really good with, Off-White had bought me a pair of the toddlers. So even though it said payment declined, but that's the thing with bots too, is that a lot of times they will say payment declined or something like that, especially on sites like that where it's different. It's not Shopify. Shopify, it's easy, like, because if you get payment decline, it's gonna tell you and stuff. A lot of times, like with these sites, they'll be so, like Off-White and stuff, they'll be so bombarded with people and everything. Is like you will get charged, but it's like the bot doesn't even know that you bought it. Because of whatever reason or another. It doesn't know, probably because the site's so messed up, overall. But yeah, guys. I mean, I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said, botting is not easy at all. And like I said, today we're just focused on Balko because it's so much in the world. There's so many different bots. I mean, like, I have a bunch of different stuff, but obviously, usually I find myself on Balko. That's my go-to bot, so I figured it'd be a good video, like, for me to go over this one, because this is the one that I normally use. And it's worked pretty well for me. Like I said, it's not easy, but you can have success if you can kind of, maneuver your way through, certain things like bot protection and, different, like, speed and having different profiles and not getting canceled, and all those things that you have to worry about, because obviously if you buy something and it gets canceled, it doesn't even, like, who cares that you bought it? Like, you're not getting it. You just got refunded, so it doesn't, it's not really beneficial. So yeah, guys. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, for, like, restocks and stuff, usually I'll just run it around 5,500, 3,500, something like that. It's kind of hard to catch restocks on Shopify, because a lot of times there will be captchas and stuff that you won't be able, that won't automatically solve, because you're not going to have one clicks, because they don't want you to have one clicks, because they're trying to keep out the bots. When bot protection goes down on places like Kith and stuff like that, normally, yeah, you can actually let it run, and it will check you out a pair, or whatever. It will check you out. It will check out by itself, because the bot protection is down. But like I said, everything changes all the time, and different things are different. I mean, a couple of weeks ago and stuff, or a couple of months ago, they had the checkpoint. When the checkpoint kind of first came out a little bit, with Balko, you could solve one captcha and they would go across all your tasks. Now it doesn't do that anymore. Like I said, things change a lot. So So yeah, guys, like I said, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you get some kind of value out of it. You know, I've been doing this for like a couple, like probably 6 months or so, and I've been doing it kind of heavy. So I feel like I'm at a little bit of a place to have some kind of information about something. So I just figured I'd make this video. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed and have a good day.